Hi, you are watching 5 Minutes with Uncle Bear, and I am Uncle Bear, and I just had a beautiful thing happen to me, and I wanted to share. It's been a rough week with the Orlando massacre. There's been a lot of triggering of really being the target of so much hate as a queer person. Unfortunately, what that has done, though, is triggered all sorts of other work that I've been doing on my whole life to heal. And one of the biggest areas is being the target of bullying for about 10 years from the age of 5 to 15, 4 to 14, somewhere around there. And how horribly it impacted me. Yesterday I had an awful day, crying jag day, realizing that I was diagnosed with PTSD because of it, the severity of the bullying. And doing my research yesterday, I realized that they call my type of PTSD complex PTSD. I didn't realize this because I was diagnosed before they had this term, which is not just a event, it's events over time, repeated humiliation, repeated scapegoating, repeated verbal, physical abuse. So I had a really hard day yesterday. And it's been very hard because being fat and having endured the scrutiny and the punishment that this culture deals out to fat folk is still something that I struggle with, and I have been dealing with this my whole life. I have gotten infinitely better. I actually do love my body. And the residual violence in me that was done to me, the fact that my body was taken away from me in some ways when I was young, is still lingering, and I'm 52 years old. So I know a lot about self-care. I have an incredible partner who is also so good, so present and sweet and gifted. And I got through yesterday. I woke up this morning feeling a bit better and trying to contextualize what I was experiencing, this re-triggering of this PTSD, this complex PTSD that I experienced from being bullied so severely as a child. And I decided I needed to get my body out into nature because that's one of the things that helps the most with me to feel better, period. So I went to Laurelhurst Park in Portland, Oregon, and I was going to just do some walking, and I realized that I just wanted to feel the earth. So I took my flip-flops off and I was walking in the grass, and then I went to another part of the park that has a lot of grass, and I decided to lay down. I wanted to lay down on the grass, and the sun, it's a beautiful day today, the sun was beaming very strongly and warmly, and I laid down, my face down, my belly, my body into the grass, and I just breathed. And I breathed, and I felt that earth, Mother Earth beneath me, holding me, accepting me, and I felt a little bit better. And then I realized that I needed maybe to put some words into this experience. And so the words that came to me were every inch of me is wanted. Every inch of me is accepted. Every inch of me is needed. And I just said this again and again for, I don't know, maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes, somewhere around there. And I just was with the earth, feeling this. And then I felt more spacious. I'm going to blow my nose right now. I felt more spacious. I was breathing more deeply, and I had a feeling of, maybe this trauma I've carried my whole life will get even less. It's been getting less and less and less, and maybe it'll get even less because there's a point where you start to despair that you're never going to heal and be whole. There's that point where you feel that you will be broken for the rest of your days. And I don't know if wholeness is even a smart way to think about things, but you start to think about that, right? So I lifted my head. My face had been on my arms in the grass, and I lifted my head, and I realized that I was in clover. And my whole life, I have searched for a 4-leaf clover and have never found one. And right in front of my eyes was this 4-leaf clover. Right there, in that moment. And I don't care if it was divine or life or whatever. In that moment, that 4-leaf clover signified for me that every inch of me is wanted. Every inch of me is accepted. Every inch of me is needed. And I was like not going to pluck it. And I decided I wanted to take it and bring it to my altar so that I had it as a reminder. And I gently took it. I asked, I said, hey, is it okay? And I hope the green blood said, yes, it's okay. You can take one of our own. And so I took it. And I went and I was thinking to myself that this message that we are accepted, we are wanted, we are needed is part of the root of why we behave in such funky ways. Because we don't believe this thing. That if you took everyone and you had them believe for a moment that they were wanted, needed, and accepted, how much of the aberrant behavior, the anti-life, the destructive impulse would be there. There'd probably be some, but so much of it would go. And I was thinking about this, and that this is the message that I want to share. And that even if you do really funky things, that you are wanted, needed, and accepted at a base level. And then what you do with that from there, if you believe that, that's a whole nother thing. I don't know what to make of that. So I got up and I was leaving the park and I had this beautiful little 4-leaf clover and I was going to put it on my altar. I was excited. And then I saw this person and he was with a big pile of things. And from the tracking of the things, I was like, this is probably someone who doesn't have a consistent resource of home. I'm not sure. Who knows? I'm making an assumption. He also looked like he had been through some roughness in life. Not sure. But he was reading a book, and I had this 4-leaf clover that I wanted to take to my altar. And I had this moment where I was like, no, this grabbing, this grasping, this trying to hold is one of the problems with all this. You know, what is enough? And so in that moment, I went to him and I said, hey, we started talking. And I said, I found this 4-leaf clover. I've never found one before. My whole life I've wanted to find one. I was wondering, would you like it? And he said, oh, I found one the other day and it was small. But yeah, I'd love that. I said, you can maybe press it in your book. And he's like, oh yeah, I could do that. And in that moment, I just released whatever fortune that might represent to this human being, this wonderful human being. I introduced myself. I said, what's your name? He said, Michael. I said, I'm Uncle Bear. And then he said, can I give you something? And of his things, he wanted to give me something. And he had a Super Grover patch. That was fabulous. I kind of wanted, and a radish, pickled radish thing. And I was like, no, thank you. You right here is enough. And I went along my way. So there's no altar with a 4-leaf clover right now in my home. But this moment of connection I had with this really cool human being was gift enough. And I just want to really emphasize this thing. And I know that these videos are getting way longer than 5 minutes. I might have to update my title. But every inch of you is wanted. Every inch of you is accepted. Every inch of you is needed. Thank you so much for joining me in this experience. And just thank you. Thank you so much.